Red Dead Redemption has released on Nintendo Switch. One of the most overrated games in my childhood is now finally available on Nintendo consoles. So now I'm finally able to come out and tell you all that this game is trash. It was always trash. You guys were dumb for liking it back in the day. When you guys were like trying to tell me that like, oh man, you can tie up a woman and then leave her on the train tracks. And I was just like, why would I want to do that? And you tried like pretending as if like, oh man, you just don't get it. You're not a real gamer. You're into Pokemon. You're into Nintendo. You're a child. Like I'm a real hardcore gamer. When Red Dead Redemption 1 comes to PC, I'm gonna play the hell out of that game. Like I went through this growing up, right? This was like one of those times, the peak of like anti-Nintendo sentiment in like my personal life, right? Like I don't know if it still exists in like schools today, but like back then it was very evident that like everybody hated Wii, everyone hated DS, everyone was about like PC gaming, everyone was about those big Rockstar games, everyone was like a big Mass Effect dick sucker. Like everyone thought that Nintendo was trash at the time. And it was so frustrating for me as a fan, like having to interact with these people and their ignorant opinions. Like, oh, Metroid Prime 3 wasn't a good game. Zack and Wiki is the only game on Wii, like the only good game on Wii. Real games don't come out on Nintendo hardware. The Wii is underpowered and like there's nothing good on it at all. Like it was obnoxious, unbearably so. I had a very big issue with people talking negatively about video games even back then. And when I finally got my hands on like Red Dead Redemption 1 back in the day, when I finally got to play this game, I found myself, as I expected, reasonably disappointed. Right, the game is ugly. There's nothing in the open world. The story isn't interesting. The characters aren't fun. The gunplay is simplistic. The mission structure is boring. Like, there's too many like long. It does that thing that I hate in games where like you're on the trail on a horse and like your party is following behind you and you have these conversations like giving all this exposition that isn't well written. People talk about like how Red Dead Redemption 2 is like super liberal. I played this game and I think this is like the first game I ever played in my life where I had noticed like the liberal bias. Right? Like it's really noticeable if you're looking for it even in this game. Like, ignore that stuff like people say about like, oh, Red Dead Redemption 2, that one as well. No, like Red Dead Redemption 1 and Grand Theft Auto 4 are also woke. I would argue like San Andreas as well. Like are also woke, right? Like this is not a new thing, right? It's not new. So like right from the get-go, I noticed these things. I noticed this game is just not all that well put together. It's not all that much fun to play. Like it's not all that like compelling. It's not all that interesting. It's just plain boring, right? Like I much prefer like Bully or GTA San Andreas. Like Rockstar got worse, like noticeably worse after San Andreas, right? There was no real recovery after San Andreas, and even now I feel like nobody really wants to admit it. Like games like Manhunt have fallen off the radar. Like they're not producing stuff like LA Noir anymore. Like they're not doing anything other than like ooh get excited for Grand Theft Auto 6. Like they have nothing else other than Grand Theft Auto, right? Red Dead Redemption 2 like just kind of came out and like sold a bunch because of its brand name because so many people are just fanatical about Rockstar and like the cowboys like they're gay cowboys but like the game itself is not that good. Like there's nothing all that well constructed about the mission designs. Like I remember like playing this game and like doing the shepherding stuff and realizing that like Twilight Princess did this first and did it better, right? I noticed this. Like Twilight Princess has better combat in general. It has a better plot. It has like better visuals. It has like more things you can do in the game. Like 3 years earlier, right? Like Twilight Princess just destroyed Red Dead Redemption in every conceivable way. And nobody wanted to admit it. Like nobody wanted to admit that like Rockstar, that Bethesda, that BioWare, they were all way behind on what Nintendo was doing around that same point. And now that like we're at 2023 and we're seeing that like Tears of the Kingdom like outperform like being such a huge deal, like it's becoming more and more obvious that like games like Red Dead Redemption will not be the big juggernauts that they used to be. They are going to fall by the wayside for one reason or another. And I cannot wait for that to happen because the original Red Dead Redemption is like just embarrassing to look back on. It's just one of those games that I never cared for, that I never cared about, that I didn't even finish. I think I got like to the third act, and I just kind of just stopped. It was just so dull. It was just so uninspired. It was just so boring. And like now that it's on Switch, no longer can you try to tell me that like it's only because the game isn't available on a Nintendo console. Like this game is trash. Don't want to play it again. Have no interest in playing it again. And I am going to stick with the far superior Zelda games on Nintendo Switch.